Well, welcome to Country Living with the Wades. I'm Philip,
I'm Deborah.
and we are God, family, and country. God bless and enjoy our videos.
The flexibility of your raised bed.
Now, I should really give you an update as well.
As you can see, I planted 3 of my strawberry runners.
Today is February the 1st, and I'm cutting spinach from our winter garden. If you're enjoying our videos, like and subscribe. And today I'll be planting spinach in this section. This is the original raised bed, the first one that we did. This is a Fairy Morse. It's a Bloomsdale long-standing. Now I'll read the instructions on the back. It tells me to plant the seeds every 2 inches apart, and the rows are 6 and 12. That means I'll have a row, and then 6 inches after I'll have a row. Then I'll skip 12 inches and I'll have a row, skip 6 inches and have another row. Plant them every 2 inches apart. Once the plants get to be about 3 inches tall, thin them out to 6 inches apart. Well, it says take the thinnings that you do and use it for salads and stuff like that. And I think that's a pretty good idea. But since the plants are going to be 6 inches apart in the end, and I already have this one left over from where I did the carrots, this marker stick, I'm going to go ahead and use the same marker stick. Instead of doing them every 2 inches, I'll do them every 3 inches, and I'll just thin out the one in the middle. So I'll get started first with this, put the first row in, and then I'll come back 6 inches after, and I'll put my second row in. Now, these are pretty good sized seeds. Not nothing like carrots. One right there. The thing about doing a home garden is it's mostly TLC. You have to enjoy doing it. It's like a hobby. It's not like you're having to do it to survive. All right, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the carrot. When I'm planting the carrots, I'm going to use this Jiffy seed starter. Put it in there and make that be my complete top covering over the seeds. So I'm not going to be using the dirt from the raised bed for this. I'll be using the seed starter mix. I tell you, the reason I'm really liking this is it's real soft. It's just the right amount of moisture to pack in and crumble over. Something else I like about it too, you can see exactly where you planted because it's a different color than what the soil is in the raised bed. Yeah, the moistures in this is real good. I like it because I can just press it down a little bit like this and it clings in place. Whereas the other that I had, that was the Miracle Grow, it was dry and I had a hard time getting it to start to accept water because it was such a fine powdery mix. But I think this will work pretty good. Now this is 2 rows right here. I'm going to go ahead and plant several other rows. That's 4 rows. I'm ready to put a couple more rows in. I think 6 rows for us is going to be plenty of spinach for the fall and winter. But I'm about out of this Jiffy seed starting mix. I don't have enough left in here for another row after I used it on the carrots. But I really like it. Hey, Pea Turkey. This is Pea Turkey, the hole inspector. I don't know if y'all remember him from building these raised beds. He's my smartest dog I've ever had in my life. He was a rescue. He just showed up here one day. We live out in the boondocks. Somebody obviously let him off when he was just a little puppy. But he does a lot of things by hand signs, some vocal signs. But he's, like I said, the smartest dog I've ever had. Maybe later in this video, I'll show you some of the things he'll do. Oh, he'll do anything for some food. Well, I finished. I went to the store to get some more of this Jiffy seed mix, this seed starting mix. I need to tell you about that too right quick. Let me water this down just a little bit more. I look on the app for Lowe's, and they don't have any of this. So they're completely out. Don't have any of this. We have 2 stores here local to us, and neither one of them has any of it. So then I go on the app for Home Depot, and Home Depot says they have 29 bags. Excellent. So I go to Home Depot from, even though we live out in the sticks, we're only about 25 minutes or so from a Home Depot. I go there, they don't have any. So I check, and the girl calls and asks somebody else, and they come back and say, well, it's been put up for the season because the end of the season. So I go to a customer service to complain about it. And they took my complaint very seriously. And to my surprise, 3 people spent more than an hour locating the right pallet that this was in, where it was stored, opening it up, even though it wasn't marked exactly what was in it, with the hopes that this was in there. I was so pleased. The customer service there was just absolutely unbelievable. I just want to give a shout out to Home Depot for helping me so much with this. They were so nice and sweet. Everybody was nice and sweet about it, apologetic, everything. And I couldn't have been more pleased. So anyway, I told him I'd give him a shout out on my next video. I don't know if he's ever really been officially introduced, but this is P Turkey. And P Turkey showed up at our house 7 years ago, about this big. You know, our house is 100 yards back from the dirt road, and it's 100 acres of cotton and peanuts across the road from us. But he's the smartest dog I've ever had. Watch this. He'll do anything for a treat. Back up. Sit. Come here. Turn around. Hup. He does some verbal commands, hand signs mostly a lot of times. Um, a few clicks and stuff for different things. But he minds very well. He's like a little child. Well, the package on the spinach says 8 to 10 days for germination, and the carrots are 8 to 12 days to germination when they were planted 7 days ago. So I've got to wait a little bit before we start to see anything on this. It's not going to pop up in 3 days like our turnips and mustard greens did. And I can hear tractors a couple hundred yards behind me in that direction, in another field. They're turning peanuts today. They've been turning peanuts all day long. Maybe I'll get over and get a little video of that in here too. On the spinach that I sowed, these seeds are already starting to pop up. Can you see that there? Another one over here. Yeah, and another one over here. Yeah, the spinach is starting to come up, and it's been not even a full week. So it's germinating faster than it said, and the carrots are germinating slower. And that's the garlic. I just did one little row of garlic because last year we had more garlic than we will use in a long time. This is our spinach. It would have been thicker. The rows would have been more defined, but we had a dog visiting us right after I planted them when they were just coming up, and she decided to do a dance in the middle of the garden area. Today is February the 1st, and I'm cutting spinach from our winter garden. Boy, I tell you, it's really nice. This is the first really warm day. This is almost like a spring day today. We've had really cold weather, and now it's spring, but it's supposed to rain again, I think tomorrow, and some more cold air is coming in. So I'm taking advantage of this right now. Fresh spinach from the garden is hard to beat. You just cut it, wash it, make your salad, and eat. You start cutting your spinach when the leaves get about 6 inches long. And this is the second cutting on the spinach. You cut the lower outside leaves first. One thing I really like about the raised beds is you don't have to get all the way down into the dirt. I mean, sure, I'm on my knees, but that's a big difference. Now, look, if you have a leaf that's getting kind of old and it starts to turn yellow on the edges, yeah, don't use it. It's already getting kind of old. Keep the young and tender ones. You can wash them and freeze them. Use them a few weeks down the road. We like to put spinach on our pizza when we make homemade pizza. And so we just come out to the garden cut it, wash it, chop it up, put it on the pizza, stick it in the oven. I should have already cut this a few days ago. I've got several leaves that are yellow. Go ahead and clip all those off. Well, while I'm out here, I might as well look at the rest of the winter garden. There's carrots. Well, those are getting pretty good size. I'm probably need to pull some of those. And turnip greens, I've already cut the turnip greens once. I've got to cut them again for sure. They're definitely due for cutting. The collards I thinned once. I'll have to thin them again pretty soon. When I thin them again, all I'm going to do is cut off the ones I don't want. So let's take a look at these carrots. They look like they're pretty close to being ready. Come down here and check this one out here. Scrape a little dirt off around the edge there. Oh, look at that. Yes, that one's definitely, yep, I need to pull those up this week, I'm sure. I don't want them getting so big they start to split. And this is how I do it. I fill up a bucket that's washed out with fresh water, and then I put water. So I don't really have a full bucket over here, so I should be able to just wash this out with just 2 buckets instead of having to have 3. The trick to this, have enough water in there so as you take a handful of it and you work it around, any dirt that's on there might fall off. Then you put it in this other bucket over here and do the same thing. I'll do it again over here and just go back and forth is what you're going to do. Rinse it from this one over here and into this one. There's a yellow leaf and there's a ladybug. Go on, ladybug. Bugs will float up to the top. Little twigs and stuff like that will float up too. Dirt will sink down to the bottom. So you just rinse in one, put it in the next one and rinse in there. Then you pour out the water that's in the first one, you refill it again, and you do it all over. Do this about 3 times. If you try to do too big of a handful at one time, you're not getting enough rinse water around it to really separate the dirt and stuff off of it. There's another ladybug. They're out, I tell you. I'll wash these down real good, and I'll go through and I'll cull them. Cull them means I'll go through and pick out anything that doesn't look like I'd want to eat it, like maybe yellow ones or something like that, or some stems, or maybe I'll find a piece of leaf or something, you know, floating in there, or something like, you know, little small things. Maybe I'll find something like a leaf. I'll cull those things out, and then I'll put it down in Ziploc bags. I could blanch it if I'm going to keep it very long, but just for a couple of weeks it does fine in the freezer. If I was going to keep it till summertime or something like that, then I'd go ahead and blanch it. Blanching means you take boiling water, you take it after it's already been rinsed and washed like this, you put it down in the boiling water for about, I don't know, 30 seconds. Not enough to cook it, but enough to kill surface germs and stuff, raise the temperature up on it. There's another ladybug, get out of here. And then you drain it and you go ahead and you freeze it. Bag it up and freeze it. And I try to squish all the air out of the bags when I do it too. And I've got just a few leaves left in here of spinach, but I've got a little bit of dirt floating around, little pieces of trash, you know, little pieces of, looks like maybe little tiny pieces of maybe where grass was mowed or something. Anyway, I'll pour this out and I'll refill it with fresh water. Oh yeah, and I can see a little bit of small grains of dirt down at the bottom as well. Rinse out this bucket and refill it. Now the difference in doing a winter garden like this is you don't have caterpillars because you don't have butterflies. Butterflies make the caterpillars. And if you're doing something like kale that's in the summertime that the cabbage worm really likes, then you're not going to find all the worms when you're doing a rinse like this. You have to take your kale and those kind of things and run them through the blanching process. When you run the blanching process through there, it stuns them or kills them, whatever, and they float up to the top. And that's how you know you got your worms off, because you can't find the worms. They're exactly the same color as the kale leaves. A little piece of leaf there. I'll do this rinse about 3 times, and that'll be good. I think I will go ahead and blanch this spinach that I just picked. Now this is going to be a pot of hot boiling water, and this is cold water straight from the well. I'll just add some ice cubes to it so that I can put the spinach in for so many seconds, maybe 30 seconds or so, take it out of here, shake the water off, put it in the ice cold water to stop it from cooking, cool it off, and then I'll take it from this and bag it. So the object is put the spinach in, submerge it, a couple of good handfuls, that's all I need. Submerge it. It cools off the water pretty quick, but the heat's still on it. It's still approximately 210 degrees. This will make the spinach softer, but it will not cook the spinach. All right, I haven't been counting the seconds, but I believe that's long enough. I'm going to take that out, drain it, put it in the ice water. Now notice I'm just doing a small batch at a time. If I try to do a bigger batch, the stuff I put in first overcooks. It actually starts to cook before I can get it out and get it into the cold water. Now it can stay in the cold water as long as you want. That's not a problem. Now, you see how dark this looks now as compared to when I first put it in? If you ever bought spinach, frozen spinach, and look at it and you see how dark it is, but maybe you noticed in the video the spinach I was picking was not that dark. Well, this is that dark now, and that's the blanching process. You see the same thing when you go to a restaurant and you get broccoli, and the broccoli is very dark colored, much darker than what you would see fresh broccoli in the grocery store. But it's the same thing. That broccoli has been blanched or sanitized. Now, if you have any bugs in here, real insects, this will kill those as well, plus any bacteria that might be on the surface of the plants. That's really what this is for more than anything else, is to kill any bacteria that might be on the surface of the plant. Maybe some kind of bug got on there and laid some eggs on the back side. You didn't see the eggs or whatever else. You don't have to worry about it if it's been blanched. That's been taken care of. I don't want to keep it in too long, but I want to make sure it stays in there long enough that everything gets up to the full temperature. Drain. I drain so I don't heat up my ice water too fast. See, if I had a big batch going right now, I wouldn't be able to get it out in time before it was completely cooked. Get it under the water there, let it cool off real good. I just leave it in there. When I take it out of here, I'll put it in this white bowl, and then I'll divide it up into bags and put it in the freezer with labels on the bags that say what it is, that it was blanched, when it was picked, and stuff like that. It takes a couple of good sized pots to be able to do this. And notice I'm taking this straight out of the bucket that I washed them in outside. I've just drained the water off of it. These have been rinsed 3 or 4 times already, so I'm plenty fine with eating them like they are. But I want to put these in the freezer and keep them, I might be eating these in the summer. So look at that ice, it's already melting pretty quick with this hot spinach going in there. If it was just the spinach, but you carry water from the blanching over to here, and that water is hot. Now there's no salt, no chemicals, no nothing in here. Everything we do in our gardens is organic. We don't use any type of pesticides in our garden. Stir this around a little bit. Yeah, see, the spinach gets real soft when you do that, just because it has actually begun the cooking process a little bit. 2 good handfuls in here. Make sure it's all underwater good, stir it around. Now, if you had any caterpillars, for example, on the vegetables that you're trying to blanch, they would float up to the top and you would see that immediately. It makes it a little bit easier to pick out something like that, because when you grow things straight from the garden, there's always a risk of having some type of insect on there because they eat the same garden stuff as you do. If I had any kind of caterpillars or any kind of bugs in here, they would float up to the top. This has been here long enough. And then it makes it easier just to pick them out. Did you know that if you buy fresh produce, say from the grocery store or whatever, it has been washed? Even if you buy just watermelons, they have to go through an FDA wash. And carrots too. That's why they don't have the dirt from the garden on there. They have to go through a wash before they can be sold to the public. Fresh vegetables, things that have not been blanched, FDA does allow for a certain percentage of live insect. Because it happens. You can't get it all unless you use pesticides. So if it's organic and it has not been blanched, all right, this has enough in here. I'm going to go ahead and take some of this out. I don't have anything in the boiling pot right now, so I can take my time. I don't have to rush. I just want to make sure that when I do take things out of the boiling pot, I have good cold water to put them in. When you do it like this too, it cooks it down so far that it really packs. Everything that I picked today will probably fit in 1 gallon bag. But I'll probably break it up into the quart size, and because that makes a good meal for the 2 of us. There's some more in there. This water's still really cold, so I'm not going to add any more ice to it right now. All right, I'm going to add some more in. And that's it. This is done. But it's real important that the water be at boiling temperature, because that's what kills everything. And that's all it is to blanching. So easy.